down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Completing the Shelf channel here on YouTube. We are your hosts, Alex and Chris.
Hello.
For a riveting series that we will begin today called Marvel Studies, The Journey to the Infinity War. This will be a bit of a weekly look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting all the way back a decade ago with movies like Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, and going all the way to the present day with movies like Black Panther and the upcoming release on May the 4th of Avengers Infinity War. We're just two happy little nerds stuck in the universe and the internet, and we're happy to provide our insights to you about these films, what they are about, the stars of them, and what it means to the context of Avengers Infinity War, and our opinions on the film as a whole. We begin today with the first of these Marvel Cinematic Adventures, Iron Man, filmed in 2008, starring Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Terrence Howard, and Jeff Bridges. So yeah, we are on our way to eventually talking about, which should be the movie of the spring, at least for now, of 2018. Are you excited to go down this road with me, Chris?
Honestly, I am more excited now that we just start recording, because I think we're going to see things connect in ways that we haven't noticed before as we've been just watching each one of these movies come out year by year. I really hope to see the connective tissue and really nerd out about it. I'm excited about what Marvel's been doing, this experiment of like taking the television format, the comic book format, and putting it into theaters. So let's do this. Yeah. Iron Man, directed by Jon Favreau.
Iron Man, Jon Favreau, which you may remember him from other memorable directorial roles. Well, really, he really got on the map in my mind with Iron Man. I mean, he had done a comedy movie before. You remember 5 years earlier in the movie Elf.
Great movie.
Fantastic movie. But this really cemented him as his first foray into good, successful action movies. Zathura, the space adventure, wasn't exactly a highlight, something that we will discuss later as probably not shelf-worthy in our minds here on Completing the Shelf. But Iron Man was his first successful stab at the whole directing thing. And he's gone on to be a successful director and executive producer of a handful of different projects. So very, very happy to see that, of course, his creative mind has come through this process through a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As mentioned, the lead in Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr., who does portray the role of Tony Stark, the genius billionaire playboy philanthropist, who inherited his father's Stark Industries defense company. We first see him in war-torn Afghanistan, of course, in 2008, alongside friend and his connection to the military, and Air Force Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes, portrayed by the one and only Terrence Howard. He's supposed to demonstrate one of the newest Stark projects. After the demonstration, unfortunately, his convoy gets ambushed. Stark is hurt very, very badly by one of his own Stark RPGs. Eventually, he ends up in a cave by this terrorist group known as the Ten Rings.
Ooh.
I know. It doesn't exactly have the fun ring of ISIS or Al-Qaeda, but the Ten Rings, nonetheless, is a terrorist group that is based in the Middle East that does, in fact, capture Mr. Stark. A fellow captive, who is a doctor, then helps Stark live by placing an electromagnet in his chest, which we later find out is called an arc reactor. Still playing along with us. Good. The two together build this small little arc reactor to power Stark's electromagnetic heart, I guess, for lack of better words, or his electrical system within his body now.
Well, the arc reactor was put in there to be a magnet, so that it could keep
Oh,
the shrapnel
right.
from getting into his heart, so he dies. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry,
That's it. To keep the
nerd
heart.
nerd update, nerd complaint.
Yes, nerding. Yes. Again, science. So I got lost when and that whole like, well, I think the arc reactor is his heart now, but maybe not. I don't know. Um, Eventually they get out of this cave with a suit of powered armor that they eventually concoct. When Stark returns back to America and being rescued from the Middle East, it turns out his father's old partner and the company's manager, Obadiah Stane, played by Jeff Bridges, has taken over Stark Industries and has potentially gone on to potentially ruin Mr. Stark, not Tony, his dad, his father's legacy. Stark then creates a much more prettier Iron Man suit, and then the story kind of takes off from there.
Literally, he flies around and he wants to destroy all the Stark tech that's in the hands of the enemy, redeem his company, and be actually responsible for once in his life and care about something. Then
Correct.
he outs himself in front of the news media saying that I am Iron Man. And we all go, what?
And
the
then everybody
heck?
except one person stands up. And I don't even remember who doesn't stand up, but it's just one of those things. This is the first time we get introduced, of course, to Jarvis, voiced by Paul Bettany. Fantastic British actor. I think he's English. Just kind of a blanket statement to call him British.
He is English.
But he is English. He is English, yes. From London. Good man. And thorough. I don't know why I mixed in that line from another film just there. I think I just mixed in Big Lebowski because we were talking about Jeff Bridges. I'm sorry. Weaving the cinematic tapestry together and how it all comes up together for us. Favreau actually makes a cameo. He plays Stark's bodyguard and chauffeur, Happy Hogan. And eventually, towards the very end, you do get your first introduction to S.H.I.E.L.D. through a cameo appearance by Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury.
Yes, in the post-credits scene. The beginning of you can't go to the bathroom yet. Everyone stay in your seats. Cross your legs because something important's about to happen.
Right. Spoiler alert. There's Easter eggs in the credits. It's been 10 years, so if you haven't seen it, please go do that. You've got from this point between now and May the 4th, at midnight, May the 4th for that matter. I'm not even going to give you the Thursday date. I'm just going to tell you, you have between when we're recording this now, Monday, Martin Luther King Day, January 15th, you have 108 days to put your P's and Q's together to see all the movies that we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks. No pressure.
And it shouldn't be.
We're under that same deadline.
But it should not be a pressure. I mean, it's an exciting adventure. The journey to Infinity War, as we've called it in that comic booky kind of title. This is going to be awesome because, though not perfect, I think these Marvel films are really trying to do something special. So should we talk about the things that we like?
Yes, certainly. With the film itself, it certainly allowed us to remember a lot of the things we did enjoy about the Iron Man comic book story from way back when. The man who created his own suit and allowed himself to fly and defend us from the evils of the world. So,
did you read comic books?
Iron Man sort of
Iron Man comic books?
I did not until I was much older. But again, this is what really ignited and really got the snowball created. This is literally the Marvel Studios putting their hands together, wrapping up this little snowball, and then they had this idea to maybe see if they could push it and see what would happen.
Well, at the time, like the studio was in bankruptcy, and they didn't own their flagship character, so Iron Man was like a B-roll character. So they were betting everything
Right.
on this film.
It was not an A movie by any means. No.
No, not the movie, but like the character himself was like a B tier superhero.
Right.
Now he's like, an A tier. But they didn't even have a finished script when they made this film. And it's amazing how it came together with the work of the people in charge. I love stories when the artists are all just working together. What's your favorite character moment in this film? If you had to think about it.
I think when the convoy was rolling along, there was this sort of brilliant bit that Robert Downey Jr. said, and I think it's not only about Tony Stark, but maybe even RDJ as a whole. I think he comes out with the line with I'd be out of a job with peace. So his story as an actor and as a person has always been one of tumult and up and down, and there's never really been a zen moment to this point, which we love, because he continues to give us great performances, and when he doesn't appear in Marvel movies or action movies, it's not so great sometimes.
Well, I think you're right. His life has been tumult, and so is Tony Stark's. But then this film's major theme is about redemption and responsibility and growing into being something better, and because of the guilt of being irresponsible. And that's my favorite thing. When I walked out of the movie, I'm like, whoa, the character actually had a massive worldview shift.
Right.
Whoa.
Oh. And I think that there would be this snowball would not happen if not for the fact that there is the constant conflict that does occur within the Marvel universe. Not necessarily the MCU as a whole, just the Marvel comic book world. There's always that need to create another story, to create another villain, to create another story, to continue selling more comic books, selling more editions, and making that media relevant.
Well, speaking of villains, what do you think about Obadiah Stane, the Iron Monger?
Yeah, I always kind of thought the name was a little doofy, and it's just because that's from the non-comic book side of things. For the Iron Monger, that was portrayed by Jeff Bridges. Again, I see Jeff Bridges in villain roles from the outside, and I'm just like, oh, he's such a likable little hippie. Why does he got to be a bad guy? And that's why I get like, oh.
His acting was fine, but his dialogue wasn't the greatest. It was just kind of underwhelming, anticlimactic battle. I don't know what you would do to fix it, but
there's not a lot to do because it's so early in this whole process that they're literally just throwing things against the wall and they're hoping they stick.
Yeah, and you know what? Largely, I think this is a successful film. That the tone and of the world that they created is consistent from here on out, except with Incredible Hulk. Felt like a whole different kind of movie, but that's for next episode.
I agree. Yeah, but spoiler alert, there's going to be another episode coming out soon, and you might hear about us talk about another Marvel movie.
What?
Yeah, go figure. So that's kind of my opinion on the movie, just in a nutshell. The Iron Man movie, fun fact, did win the AFI Movie of the Year award back in 2009. The American Film Institute awarded it as its Movie of the Year.
Very cool.
Pretty high praise. And that's always nice when you do get some kind of awards like that. It did get nominated for 2 Oscars, including Best Achievement in Sound Editing and Best Achievement in Visual Effects. Again, you look at it in 2018, I'm like, how in the world did they ever get an Oscar for that? But think about it. This was technology from 10 years ago. They didn't have all the bells and whistles they do now.
I argue it still visually holds up pretty well.
Pretty good. Pretty good. So here on Completing the Shelf, we will have some kind of a shelving system to kind of go ahead and evaluate.
Were we going to talk about how this fits into the road to infinity?
Oh, well, yes. This fits in because it's the first Marvel Cinematic movie. It is our introduction to Iron Man, one of the Avengers, who compiles the adventures once formed by, at one point, S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think still kind of protected and funded by S.H.I.E.L.D. in some way, shape, or form.
Well,
but yes, this is the first of those characters as part of the Avengers assembly.
And I really think this universe's story is rooted in Tony Stark and his overwhelming guilt. He wants to overcome it, and so he's always trying to become better and fix things and build things to, protect the world and not be so irresponsible like he was, at the beginning of this film. So I think we're going to see that culminate in some way in Infinity War, and of course I have a 2-part video talking about this where I argue that he should die. Anyway, go ahead and click the link that's popping up right now. Shameless plug.
Chris's crappy plug of the day. There you go.
Any more thoughts,
Chris's
or
plug
should
of
we
the
go to
day.
the shelving system?
Let us go ahead and introduce the shelving system for our fine viewing guests this evening. With anything that is great, grand, and of superb quality, you place that on what you call the top shelf.
Creative.
Seems pretty sensible in my mind.
Yeah.
If you're in a bar and you want the finest of a gin, a whiskey, rum, vodka, or liqueur, you will ask for a top shelf beverage like Louis XIII.
There you go.
Which can sometimes cost more than $50 for a shot, depending on how rare the bottle of Louis XIII is.
Wow.
Don't ask me how I know these things.
And then below the top shelf, it's the second shelf?
There's the second or third shelf just below the top shelf. It's not quite of the most elite of elite praise, but certainly something that you would want to show proudly on the shelf, I should say. This SH prefix is going to be a surprising shtick to she moving forward.
Okay. And then there's the bottom shelf where I'll put just that last couple seconds are going to go on the bottom shelf.
Yeah, the bottom shelf is like, all right, it's there. We got it. We're talking about it. We're covering it. And then there's just straight trash.
Like things that aren't
and that's where
buy-worthy.
Yes, and this is where the SH is not a prefix, but indeed a suffix for all you conjugists out there. Yes. Look at me with my knowledge of our own bloody language. In this case, the trash is things that this is not the best to enjoy. Enjoy sparingly. It's kind of like the top of the food pyramid, or sweets and fatty foods. Enjoy sparingly, And it's not something that you should be digesting on a very regular basis.
For me, that's going to be like, I never want to watch it again. Its rewatch value is non-existent.
Right, and there's not going to be a lot of these that we talk about over the next few days and weeks that are going to fall into that category.
We'll be surprised. Maybe I love the first Thor movie, but maybe I haven't seen it in years. Maybe I won't now. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that the throwbacks will be many aplenty over the next few weeks for you to enjoy. Sir, I'll let you have the floor. How would you rate Iron Man within our shelving system?
I put it on the second shelf. Yeah, it's a really solid story. Its strongest piece is character development and establishing the tone and the visual style of the Marvel movies. But the weak third act, holds it back. And it's a decent movie, rewatchable. Yeah. Second shelf.
When it came out, I was 21 years old. We were both 21 years old, so now you know how old we are. If you can put the numbers together in your head, congratulations. You should be in Mensa. But at the time, I was not very well versed in any cinematic world, any comic book world, I should say, knowing the entire storylines of characters. Like, I know, oh, that's a Spider-Man. Oh, that's a Batman. Oh, that's a Superman. And I kind of had at least the names down, but I didn't know the story. This allowed me to kind of get into it. So as in that realm, I was very happy. I thought that was a great top shelf introduction. But the film as a whole, I agree with you. It is a second shelf film, all things considered.
Well, it's good we agree. That's cool. We'll see how we diverge in the future.
Yeah, this is true. We agree about something now. Final thoughts on Iron Man from 2008.
It should go on your shelf. You got to complete your shelf. Make sure you have that. I have a special, Danielle, my wife, got me a special edition where the case is actually Iron Man's face, which is awesome.
The mask, yes.
Yeah. But it doesn't go well on a shelf. So I'm thinking I might
yeah, it
try
doesn't sit up. You need a wall.
Yeah. But it's still worthy of your shelf. Get it on your shelf. What say you? Do you have it on your shelf?
I think it is currently on a shelf, and when I say shelf, I mean in a drawer that sits beneath the curved 56-inch TV I have in my den.
Excellent.
So that's a good thing. Yeah. So yeah, I would say this again. It reminded me, one, why I think comic book characters are so amazing. Two, this was the rebirth of action movies, I think, to this point for me. I don't remember up until that point really enjoying or wanting to go see movies about comic books or comic book characters until this happened. So this was the start of something beautiful.
This is the same year as The Dark Knight as well. What a year.
I know. It's just such a renaissance at that time for the whole that was comic books and film as a whole. Not just comic book films, but action films. And just the whole genre just got a real big steroid, testosterone kick in the pants, rocket-fueled awesomeness from that point onward.
Arc reactor fueled. Come on now.
That works too. That works too.
Well,
so we thank you for joining us in our very first foray into the journey to the Infinity War.
Our Marvel studies.
Our Marvel studies. If you do have any feedback, leave some in the comments below. Send us a tweet to @Alex_Salvo on the Twitterverse. He is at Completing the Shelf.
Oh, no, that's wrong.
The Twitter.
I am
you're not?
I'm at Shelf Nerds.
Shelf Nerds.
Yes.
It's much easier than all those extra letters.
Because we're
Shelf
shelf
Nerds.
nerds. I mean, that's it.
That's true. We are. So find us there on the Twitters, provide some feedback, and stay tuned for next week's episode, where we provide to you our look at the Incredible Hulk. Till then, that's not a good tagline. I was about to say we're the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's not very good.
Join us on the road to infinity.
Join us on the road to infinity. For Chris, I'm Alex. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Tony Stark makes you feel he's a cool exec with a heart of steel.
As Iron Man, all jets ablaze.